Hello everyone, let me explain to you the government and political system of 5 European countries, 5 Asian countries, and 5 African countries. Italy is a parliamentary republic. Their constitution was enacted by Constituent Assembly. Their government is also divided into three branches, which are the executive, legislative, and judicial. Under the Italian political system, their constitution established a government, which made up of a president, the council of ministers, headed by the prime minister, and a parliament with a senate and a chamber of deputies. The president is the head of the state and the one that represents the national unity. He is elected by two chambers of parliament in joint session for a period of 7 years, and at the end, he can be re-elected. He appoints Prime Minister and 5 judges of the Constitutional Court. The Prime Minister and the Cabinet decides national policy, and they are considered the most important person in Italian government. The Prime Minister is picked by the President, and the members of a cabinet are picked by the Prime Minister, and usually came from the members of Parliament. The legislative power is exercised by Parliament, which consists of two houses, whose members are directly elected by the people. All members of the Chamber of Deputies, or the lower house, are popularly elected via a system of proportional representation. The Chamber of the Deputies has 400 seats, of which 392 are elected from Italian constituencies and 8 from Italian citizens living abroad. Members of the Senate, or the higher chamber, are elected in the same manner, but the Senate also includes several members appointed by the President and former President. The Senate consists of 315 elected members, and as of 2018, 6 senators for life. The elected senators must be over 40 years of age and are elected by Italian citizens aged 25 older. The judges are appointed rather than elected. The President of the Parliament are the one who appoint. The Constitutional Court of the Italian Republic is the highest court of Italy in matters of constitutional law. The Constitutional Court is composed of 15 judges for the term of service of 9 years, 5 appointed by the President, 5 elected by the Parliament of Italy, and 5 elected by the ordinary and administrative Supreme Courts. Under the Italian government, if the President of Italy is sick, the President of Italian Senate takes over. But if the President dies, a presidential election is held. Austria. The politics of Austria function in the structure of federal parliamentary representative democratic republic. The federal president is head of state, which has been elected by the popular vote for 6 years term, and federal chancellor, which is head of the government and nominated by the federal president. He is the head of government but does not exercise the power to administer other members. Federal cabinet is composed of federal chancellor and several ministers who are nominated by the president. Parliament of Austria is comprised of two chambers: the National Council that has 183 members and elected for 5 years for proportional representation, and the Federal Council that has the power to veto a bill, which can also be rejected by the national government. The National Council is composed of 183 members elected through proportional representation in a general election. The legislative period lasts 5 years. Elections are held earlier if the National Council prematurely moves for its own dissolution. The National Council is the dominant house in the Austrian parliament. and consequently, the terms Parliament and National Council are commonly used simultaneously. The Federal Council is elected indirectly through the provisional assemblies of 9 states of the Federal Republic and reflect the distribution of seats in the Austrian Landtag. Seats are redistributed among the states following each general census, and the overall size of the chamber varies slightly as a result. The current Federal Council is composed of 61 delegates with regards to most issues. The Federal Council only possesses right of veto, which can be overridden by the National Council. The Supreme Court of Justice in Austria is the final court of appeal for criminal and civil lawsuits other than administrative. Austria court does not have a fixed number of members. As of earlier 21st century, there are typically between 50 and 60 justices on the court. Austria has political parties represented in state parliaments. Those political parties are Linksburgenland and Communist Party of Austria. Ireland is a parliamentary democracy. The head of the government is the Taoiseach. The Taoiseach and the ministers collectively form the government. Under the Irish Constitution, they hold the executive power. Ireland is a multi-party system. Those major political party systems are Labour Party, Socialist Party, Green Party, People Before Profit Alliance, and Workers' Party. Under the legislative branch, they have the upper house and the lower house. Under the upper house, they have the Senate, and under the lower house, they have the House of Representatives. House of Representatives has 166 members who are elected using proportional representation with a single transferable vote. Election takes place at least 5 years. Under judiciary, Ireland has Supreme Court, Circuit Court, District Court, and Special Criminal Court. Judges in Ireland are appointed by the President acting on the advice of the government. In the most cases, the government decides who to appoint as a judge after it has been advised by the Judicial Appointments Advisory Board. Poland is a country with a well-founded system of democratic republic. Under the executive department, President is the head of the state. He is elected by a majority of the voters for 5 years of term. Under the legislative, Poland has 2 chambers. The upper house, which consists of 100 members, and the lower house, which consists of 460 members. Poland is a multi-party system. Some of the major parties in Poland are the Union of European Democrats, Republican Party, and Democratic Left Alliance. Under the judiciary, Poland has Supreme Court, Common Courts, Administrative Courts, and Military Courts. The President of Poland appoints Supreme Court judges for an indefinite period. This is done upon a motion of National Council of Judiciary. The President also seats the first President of the Court from candidates presented by General Assembly of the Supreme Court. Congress Kingdom of Poland, also called Congress Poland, a Polish state created by the Congress of Vienna as part of the political settlement. The members of the parliament are elected by open party list proportional representation in multi-member district. Each district has between 7 and 19 seats. The members of the parliament are elected by open party list proportional representation in multi-member district. Each district has between 7 and 19 seats. Greece is a parliamentary republic. Their government is divided into three branches: the executive, legislative, and judiciary. The president is the head of the state. He is elected by the parliament every 5 years. The president of Greece serves for a 5-year term. Among the duties of the president are declaring war, representing the country in international organizations, granting pardons, concluding agreements of peace and alliance, and formally appointing the prime minister. The prime minister is selected by the president. He is the head of the government. The prime minister, together with other ministers, make up the ministerial council and considered as a decision-making body of the country. Greece has an independent judiciary. On the top of the judicial system is the Supreme Court, followed by Council State, Comptroller Council, and the Special Supreme Tribunal. Judicial power is vested in the courts of law, whose decisions are executed in the name of the people. Selection of presiding judges of 3 Supreme Courts is regulated by the government. Manipulation of judicial system, its decision by each government, is a common phenomenon which violates so independency of the system. Cambodia is set up as a multi-party democracy under a constitutional monarchy. The king serves as the head of state, and the prime minister is the head of the royal government of Cambodia. Cambodia head of the state is the king, whose role is largely ceremonial and advisory. The king is the one who appoints the prime minister. The prime minister is the head of the cabinet, made up of members of the legislature. Cabinets are chosen by prime minister, ratified by legislature, and formally appointed by king. Legislative. Cambodia is comprises of 2 chambers, the lower house and the upper house. The more powerful lower house is called the National Assembly, that consists of 122 members who serve 5-year terms. They are chosen by popular vote, which are the people over 18 years of age are entitled to vote. The upper house, or the Senate, has 61 members that are elected to a term of 6 years. It has a power to recommend amendments to legislation passed to Assembly, but the lower house can reject the recommendations on a second vote. Judiciary. The 1933 Constitution of Cambodia provided an interdependent judiciary under the Supreme Court. The judicial branch is independent from the rest of the government. As specified by the Cambodian Constitution, the highest court of the judicial branch is the Supreme Council of the Magistracy. Until 1997, Cambodia did not have a judicial branch of government, despite of the nation's constitution requiring one. Malaysia is a federal constitutional monarchy with a 2-house legislature. The head of state is the paramount ruler, who is selected by the hereditary sultans or rulers and serves a 5-year term. Executive power is exercised by Prime Minister, who is the leader of the majority party or coalition in the House of Representatives and is appointed by the head of state. The parliament consists of a House of Representatives with 219 members and the Senate, with up to 70 members representatives that are elected by popular vote for 5-year terms. Senators serves 3-year terms and many serves no more than 2-year terms. 2 senators are elected by each of the 13 Senate legislature, and the head of the state appoints the rest, including the senators, for the federal territories. Legislative power is divided between the federal and the local state legislatures. The Federal Court is the highest court. Below this are two high courts, one serving West Malaysia and the other serving East Malaysia. A court of appeal hears appeal from the Federal Court, and the Federal Court hears appeal from the High Court. The appointment of the Chief Justice is governed by Article 112 of the Constitution of Malaysia, whereby the Yang di-Pertuan Agong or the King appoints the Chief Justice on the advice of the Prime Minister of Malaysia, after consulting the Conference of Rulers. Laos is a communist state governed by the Lao People's Revolutionary. Under the 1991 Constitution, executive power is vested in a president who is chosen by the National Assembly for a 5-year term. The president appoints a prime minister whose cabinet must be approved by the National Assembly. The prime minister and his government also serve a 5-year term. Legislature. Legislative power rests with the National Assembly. Its 109 members are elected every 5 years. The National Assembly has the power to amend the Constitution, pass laws, and approve the budget. Laos elects a legislature nationally, and the public also participates in the election of village heads. The National Assembly has 149 members elected for 5-year terms. Justice is administered by the Supreme People's Court and by the Provincial District People Courts. Both the President and the Supreme Courts and the Public Prosecutor General are appointed by the National Assembly. Judges are appointed by the Ministry of Justice. Brunei became one of the most stable countries in Asia in terms of politics. Kingdom of Brunei has a government of absolute monarchy with the Sultan, who serves as the head of state, and the head of government as the Prime Minister and Defense-Assisted Advisory Council, Sultanate, and Ministry. The Sultan is advised on policy matters by 4 councils: the Religious Council, the Privy Council, the Council of Succession, and the Council of Cabinet Members. A new legislature with 5 indirectly elected members, a new legislature of 45 members, 15 of whom would be elected by popular vote. Main political organization. There is currently only one legal political party in Brunei, the party Pembangunan, PP National Development Party, which was legalized in 2005. Supreme Court judges appointed by the monarch to serve until age 65 and older if approved by the monarch. Sharia Court or appeal judges appointed by the monarch for life subordinate courts. Intermediate Court, Magistrates Courts, Juvenile Court, Small Claim Courts, Lower Sharia Courts. Japan has a parliamentary system of government. Japan do not elect their president direct. Diet members elect the prime minister among themselves. The prime minister are the one who form and lead the cabinet members. Japan Constitution stipulates the independence of the 3 branches of the government. The legislative pertains to the Diet, executive, the cabinet, and the judicial, the courts. Voting will take place in all representatives' constituencies of Japan, including proportional blocks, in order to appoint member of Diet to seats in the House of Representatives. The Diet is Japan's highest organ of state power and the sole law-making organ of the state. The Diet comprises the 465-seat House of Representatives and the 248-seat House of Councilors. Judicial power lies with the Supreme Court and lower courts such as high courts, district courts, and summary courts. The Supreme Court's Chief Justice is appointed by cabinet, nomination, and official appointment by the Emperor. Justice appointments are reviewed periodically within the House of Representatives and can be terminated through a majority vote although this has yet to happen. Nigeria is a federal republic with executive power exercised by the president. Nigeria's current constitution provides for separation of powers among a strong executive and elected legislature and independent judiciary. Executive power is vested in the president, who is simultaneously chief of state and head of government. The president is eligible for 2 4-year terms. The President's Federal Executive Council, or Cabinet, includes representatives from all 36 states, the National Assembly consisting of 109 members, Senate, and the 360-member House of Representatives constitutes the country's legislative branch. The judicial branch comprises the Supreme Court, the Court of Appeal, the Federal High Court, and on the state level, High Courts, Sharia Courts, and the customary courts. All members of the National Assembly are elected directly every 4 years by the popular vote. Various elected and unelected officers are instrumental to the functioning of the National Assembly. The Supreme Court is presided over the Chief Justice of Nigeria and 13 Associate Justices who are appointed by the President of Nigeria on the recommendation of the National Judicial Council. These justices are subject to the confirmation by the Senate. Sudan is a federal republic type of government. The President of Sudan is head of state, head of government, and commander-in-chief of the Sudanese armed forces in the multi-party system. The national legislature, whose members were chosen in mid-2005, had 2 chambers. The National Assembly consisted of 450 appointed members who represent the government, former rebels, and other opposition political parties. The Council of State had 50 members who were indirectly elected by state legislatures. All members of the national legislature serve 6-year term. Members of the judicial branch are appointed by the President and confirmed by the Senate. The judicial system includes regular courts, criminal and civil, military courts, tribal courts, and special national security courts. These courts are exempt from certain legal requirements. The Chief Justice of the Supreme Court heads the entire judiciary and is accountable directly to the President. Sudan legal system is a mixed system that includes Islamic law as well as the traditions of the British common law. The establishment of Sudan political parties was linked to the differences within the Graduates General Congress, the first all-inclusive national organization established in 1918. The government of Kenya is a presidential representative republic. The executive power is held by the president, who is elected by direct popular vote for 5 years. The president is usually assisted by an appointed vice president and a cabinet. In Kenya, legislative power is vested in the unicameral National Assembly with 224 members. 210 elected by the universal adult suffrage, 12 nominated, the Attorney General, the House Speaker as ex-officio members. They serve term of 5 years subject to dissolution of Parliament. The party that has ruled Kenya since independence in 1963 is KANU. Kenya has a multi-party political system with over 40 registered political parties. The judiciary of Kenya includes High Courts of Kenya, Resident Magistrate Courts, and District Magistrate Courts. Chief Justice of Kenya is the head of the judiciary and president of the Supreme Court. He or she is appointed by the country's president on the recommendation on the Judicial Services Commission and subject to the approval of the National Assembly. Uganda is a presidential republic in which the president of Uganda is both the head of the state and the head of government. Executive power is exercised by the government. Legislative power is vested on both government and the National Assembly, and the system is based on democratic parliamentary system with universal suffrage for all citizens over 18 years of age. Uganda is a multi-party system. There is a total of 38 registered political parties in Uganda. Some of the major parties include the National Resistance Movement, Forum for Democratic Change, Democratic Party, Conservative Party, Justice Forum, and Uganda's People Congress. The 1995 Constitution of Uganda provides for an executive president to be elected every 5 years. Legislative responsibility is vested in the parliament. Legislative elections are held every 5 years. The Uganda judiciary operates as an independent branch of government and consisting of the magistrate courts, the high courts, the courts of appeal, and the Supreme Court. The parliament is composed of members directly elected to represent constituencies and one woman representative for every district, as well as representative of special interest groups, including the army, youth, workers, and persons with disability. The judges are appointed by the president on the recommendation of the Judicial Services Commission and approval of the parliament. Tunisia is a parliamentary republic type of government. The government of Tunisia is divided into 3 branches: the executive, legislative, and judiciary. Under the executive are president and prime minister. Under the legislative are the Assembly of Representatives, and under the judiciary are the High Courts and the Constitutional Council. Tunisia is a multi-party system. Some of its major political parties are Popular Front, Affect Tunes, Congress of the Republic. Tunisia's legislative branch consists of the Assembly of the Representatives of the People with 217 seats. The first election for the Assembly of the Representative of the People occurred on 26 October 2014. Judicial system magistrates are appointed by the President upon the recommendation of the Supreme Council of Magistracy.